Life's a highway. Life's a highway. We cruise down the roads of time. We need to know our options. We can stay in our lane. We can shift gears, fiddle buttons. We can change lanes. We can look in the mirror. We can choose to pass. We should consider other drivers. We should know where we're going. Okay, so this is a tweet that sort of frames life as a bit of a highway and us as human beings driving down the roads of life, and kind of offers an image, puts an image in your head of a highway. So we cruise down the roads of time. We continue down. We have inertia moving forward into the future. And as time passes, we age, of course. This is all rote information for the average human being, but it does set the table. Time passes, and time perception is relative, okay? Which means that time passes differently to our perception depending on the events that are occurring at the time. They say time flies when you're having fun. Well, certainly that does appear to be the effect. We need to know our options. So, of course, in life, I like to apply casual fatalism. I don't believe in a deterministic free will. We have options, we have choice, we have individual agency, and we have independent thought, which is something that I often talk about on this channel. If you're here, I hope you can join me and we can become a collective of individuality and enjoy ourselves from there. But we need to know our options. We can stay in our lane. Stay in your lane. You'll hear that pretty often from certain people that would prefer that you don't discuss things that, you may not be an expert in the field. You may not be a subject matter expert, which I do say, seek subject matter experts. But people will say, well, you're not qualified to discuss this. You're not qualified to have an opinion, even though maybe thousands or millions of people are talking about this thing with varying levels and degrees of qualification. You should stay in your lane. You'll hear that advice often, and hey, it's up to you, your choice, if you want to take it. But that is your discretion. We can shift gears, fiddle buttons. Yes, we certainly have a lot of articulation to our movement in this great big world. I like to say that human beings, well, we are irrational. And so we have this thing called irrational free will, which means that while there are a series of events, since the Big Bang, there's inertia, there's genetics, there's every particle colliding since the Big Bang, and all roads lead to this moment in time. I do believe that we also have an element of irrationality in our thought process that allows us to do things that aren't necessarily, well, deterministic. So we do have free will in that the future is not set. And so I like to say we can shift gears, we can change tracks. If this track isn't working for you, try this track, And of course, fiddle buttons. Try things out, be open to experience and explore the great wide world around us. And enjoy yourself in the process. Life's a highway. I say, of course, here, we can change lanes. So like I said, if you're in a lane or on a track and it's not working out for you, well, you can change lanes. You can try something different. You can A, B, and take whichever course makes the most sense. Perhaps it's the path of least resistance. Perhaps it's the path of most resistance. It seems we all have our own individual perception, desires, needs, and preferences as to how difficult or how easy we'd like certain elements of our lives to be. I'm sure you can relate. You see people out there that, well, some people prefer easy mode. and there's no judgment here. If you prefer easy mode or if you prefer hard mode in life, there's no judgment. People have so many different little things happening in their lives, so many different variables come into play that they have to deal with. People that may be rational or irrational in their behavior at different times. Nobody really knows for sure what's going on in the lives, in the minds of other people. So it's good to know we can change lanes, and of course, we can look in the mirror. We can look in the mirror. So we can, of course, reflect upon our own actions, our own thoughts, and our own behaviors, and kind of, self-assess, I like to say that, well, I do have a video out there. You are not your ego. Your ego is a tool. Check it out on BitChute and YouTube. And you can, of course, we can, I can, you can self-assess, self-reflect, and determine, well, of course, was this working for me? Was this working for others? Has this improved my circumstances? Have I found more success or less success? And of course, there is this other feature of the mirror as well. You can see what's coming behind you. It's pretty important to recognize, we do have a world where there are dangers around every corner. We have some people that tend to be a little more cautious and alarmist, and others that are more freewheeling and open to danger. They have a higher tolerance for danger. But either way, you should look in your rear view mirror when you're driving. May it be rhetorically or literally in your car. And that way you can sort of make sure you understand the full breadth of what you're facing that day. In that scenario, we can choose to pass. So if somebody else in your life is standing in your way, well, you can choose to pass. Now that is unless they're in the left lane blocking you, and you can't pass on the right according to most driving laws in the United States. Well, maybe the analogies break down at a point. You see, analogies are good for, as Scott Adams says, analogies are good for explaining concepts, but they're not really good for any kind of actual persuasion, as it were. So take that for what it's worth. But we can certainly choose to pass. We can change lanes, change gears, fiddle with a few buttons here, and pass those that, are going too slow for us, or get away from those that may be going too fast in whatever scenario it may be. But through all this, we should consider other drivers. I don't think that we should have a solipsistic world view. When you think that the world revolves around you, things can happen. Your ego might be too high. It's a tool, my friends. You want to lower it to a level, not all the time, but you want to lower it on a contextual and subjective basis. And make sure that you're acknowledging other people and that your ego is not getting in the way of your or anyone else's success. Unless they're your adversaries or opponents, in which case, well, maybe you do need to rack up a win once in a while. But you should consider other drivers. You should try to be as egalitarian, as considerate as you can, within reason. I wouldn't let people drive you off the road, as it were. I wouldn't let people push you around. I say stand your ground, be strong. You got this. But you should certainly be considerate. Make sure you know where other drivers are. Try to pace them. Try to be at the same speed if you can, to ensure that you communicate more effectively. But certainly you want to consider them. And finally, we should know where we're going. We should know where we're going. Now, should is a funny word because it doesn't really mean anything. It kind of means, well, perhaps you should. I think I have a preference. It may be rational or irrational, but you should. I'd like you to do this, do that. We should know where we're going, ideally. But so often we don't know where we're going. So I like to say, in general, you can have goals, you can have systems to get you to those goals, but in some way you should have a sense of what's next. Like what is a general goal? May it be small or large. Don't let goals drive your life necessarily, but at least have them there as something to consider, something that might, make you happy. Think about what could make you happy. You might not know. You might not know. Life's a highway. Sometimes you don't know where you're going for a while. Sometimes you're just out for a leisurely drive around. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you don't have any direction, if you don't know where you're going in life, it might take you some time. I don't say rush into it. If you're a college student or a high school student getting ready to go off to college and pay some student debt, certainly, I would say take your time and make sure you're not getting a degree that won't make you happy in the long run, or that may not be very profitable for you, that might not give you a career. If you're going to spend money, you want to have return on investment, ROI. So when I say we should know where we're going, there is a bit of idealism here. It's not quite pragmatic, but keep the dream alive.